The Growth Agenda. My name is Jenny, and this is episode 3 of the book Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. In episode 2, one of the things that we saw was that the devil uses fear as a main tool to pull us into the failure territory. And where we ended, Napoleon Hill had started his interview with the devil. We already said we do not know whether this interview was real or imaginary. But from what we know about Napoleon Hill, how deep spiritually he is, we would not be surprised if it were a real encounter with the devil. Whatever the case, the lessons that we draw from it, in my opinion, should be what counts. So, in this episode, we continue with the interview with the devil, and we are looking still at how he manages to lure us into failure. One of his biggest tools, says the devil, is what he calls drifting. To drift. He manages to make human beings drift. Now, drifting is to move slowly, especially as a result of external forces. And whoever is moving or whatever is moving does not have control over the direction that they are taking. So the devil actually does that to us as individuals. And he says that how he manages to lead us into drifting is by using habit. So whatever it is that he manages to engrave in your mind and to turn into a habit will eventually lead you into drifting. And we're talking about negative habits here. So some of the habits that devil talks about, the habit of fear, the habit of being superstitious, greed, and we're talking about greed for material things, for money, for glory, for property, but also the greed for food. We're talking about lust, revenge, anger, and sheer laziness. So eventually, if he manages to make this a part of you, then you will start drifting away from your purpose, drifting away from your goal into some direction that you don't even have control over. And he does share some of the features of drifters. And listen, he's talking to Napoleon Hill and saying, drifters do not think for themselves. The devil, of course, takes advantage and thinks for them. Of course, this is to their peril. And drifters will accept anything, whatever, whichever, whenever, wherever that life throws at them. So go like, oh, for us, we are miserable here. We are the poor ones. For us, we are the ones who are not connected. For us, we are the diseased ones. So whatever life brings your way, if you're a drifter, you will take. You will not put up a fight. You will not protest. You'll just say, oh, so life is like that. And then, of course, the thoughts and opinions of drifters are supplied by the devil. And if you're a drifter, you are not able to get yourself out of the tendency to drift unless there is an intervention by a positive external force. Now, I would like to share with you now and at this point that this video, my sharing that I do here, could be that positive external force for you to start you on a journey to stop drifting and focus on what you're made for, and focus on the purpose that you are created to achieve, and focus on those goals that you should achieve every period as you will have set them. I am that external positive force. But let's go ahead. So some of the habits that the devil uses, I've already mentioned, but there are more. There is addictions. You could be addicted to sex. You could be addicted to alcohol. You might be addicted to smoking. Maybe you are addicted to, so many other things. But listen, this is what habit does to you. The habit. I'm going to read out for you. There's so many things that habit has done, will do, can do to you, child of God. Habit breaks the power of persistence. It destroys the power of endurance. It destroys your ability to concentrate. Have you been close to a smoker? Like these real smokers, they cannot concentrate at some point until they get 1 stick or 2 sticks, and then they come back and say, oh, now I'm settled. You cannot concentrate on things because the habit is calling you out to go and practice it. It undermines your capacity to imagine. Destroys independent thought, of course, because you are driven by the power of that thing that you are addicted to, and so many other things. Generally, it just breaks your capacity to lead yourself, to even recall that you are here for a purpose and try to pursue that purpose. How does the devil gain control of our minds? So Napoleon Hill is asking the devil, how do you gain control of the minds of human beings? And the devil goes like, I have so many ways. One of the ways is before you are born. The other ways is while you are still young. And of course, through manipulating the minds of human beings when they are old. Now, before you are born is by manipulating your parents. How many words do we speak of unborn children? Negative things of unborn children. How many children are rejected by their parents, by their fathers, denied, pregnancies denied? We almost hear of a case every day. So that by the time the child is born, there's already a spirit of rejection hovering above their lives, you know? And there's so many other examples. Now, when the child is young, they're very easy to manipulate. Anyone will tell them anything and they will believe. Any thought will come into their mind and they'll just take it because they are young. They don't have the capacity to analyze and evaluate and know, I should not do this, I should do. So at that time, the devil creates opportunities for himself to influence the thinking of the child. And now much earlier than birth, through physical heredity. You know, by bringing weaknesses from ancestors. Okay. Now, after people are born, the devil then uses the environment to nurture them. And in the environment, some of the things are schools, religious institutions, other institutions, workplaces, happening places, clubs and discos and, you know, dark streets, the environment to cultivate devilish ways of life into the minds of the people. Now, in school, we begin to drift by studying without any purpose. We don't have an aim. Most of us, there are a few probably who have been lucky, but most of us go through school, the different levels, without a crystallized aim. So by the time you finish, you sort of go like, okay, so I have finished. What am I going to do? And that's the beginning of your drifting, of your failure. The devil says to Napoleon Hill that I have so many people placed in the different callings that work for me, although in their minds they don't even know that they are working for me. He gives an example in the family. When children bring homework from school, parents help them. They give them a little help because they are being nice parents. But by helping, they're actually weakening the capacity of the child to use their own minds. And if this continues through the child's formative stage, then the mind, the brain are incapacitated. And so they will begin to drift. These are very shocking things, and yet they are true. Now, we also inculcate fear in children. Sometimes we think we are playing with them by scaring them because they scream and jump up, and then we think it's fun. But we are creating fear in the mind of the child. Now, many times when we preach about God to the child, we do so by repeatedly referring to the devil. I'll give you an example. Children know that if they do the wrong thing, we would say, "Are you a child of the devil? Don't you fear hellfire? Don't you know if you continue to do that, you'll go to hell?" So we think that we are giving them a positive message, but we're giving it negatively. And we are creating deep fear in the child. Instead of creating reverence for God, we are creating fear for the devil. We are not preaching God, we are preaching the devil. And this happens everywhere, not just home, even in church, Sunday school, even in school, ordinary schools. I don't know what goes on in other institutions of religion, but I'm familiar with church. The devil will do that. If you do not listen to your parents, God will punish you. You will go to hell. That's not the right way. We don't have to refer to the devil when preaching God. Even as old people, when we go to pray, we are fighting the devil. We are breaking bondages rather than embrace God. So we give the devil so much credit, and we should not be doing that. Okay, the other way that we drift as children is by learning, following the examples of our parents. So if your parents drink, if they fight, mommy and daddy, what you do, your child is watching. Daddy, if you drink, if you come home late, if you batter your wife, your son is learning from you how to treat women and children. Think about it. Now, all of us collectively, as now the older generation, should live as examples to the young. Because the young are going to emulate us. They're going to look up to us. So we should be aware that the devil is using us to nurture the young. The more aware we are of the way we are doing things, the way we are living our life, and therefore make deliberate effort to show positive examples, the harder the blow that we'll be giving the devil. Okay, so the devil says in the end that nothing will hinder me from occupying the mind of a human being as long as they're not thinking for themselves. And even if they are thinking for themselves, if the thoughts are not positive, I will still get in there and take control and drive them to the direction that I want. He boasts of causing world wars, causing world depressions, causing mass fear. And when you read this book and listen to what I'm telling you, I think there's no reason for you not to see the point that the devil is making. That if we let him enter into our minds, then we have given him ground and we've given him power over our lives. So that's the end of the episode today. The key things, the key highlights that I see that the devil wins us over by influencing drifting in our lives. And how we get to drift is when we let negative habits develop into us. Examples of those negative habits that we have given are fear, superstition, alcohol, smoking, and all other kinds of addictions. These eventually eat up bits and pieces of your subconscious mind and eventually take control entirely of it. And before we know, you have started to drift. And by drifting, we said, you are taking a direction not of your choice. You don't have control over your life. So you are thinking whatever thoughts the devil is bringing to your mind and actually doing whatever things that have passed through your mind, because we know that thought influences action. I want to make a call to you to mind your mind, because the mind is the workshop of our lives. It's the engine of our lives. What we let ourselves think determines how we move forward. Whether or not you will achieve your purpose as God's creation depends on how you use your mind. Drifting is the tendency to go slow in whatever direction pushed by the waves of the world. Whatever waves. So, child of God, master yourself, because you do have great potential lying within you. Master yourself. Put together the skills and capacities that God put in you. Find out what your purpose is. Break it down into goals. Break your goals into targets and push and do this every day of your life. Run away from drifting. Run away from the devil. Run away from being a mediocre. Have something against your name. Have a record. Touch lives. Cause transformations of communities. Do something with your life. Make use of your life. Don't cause grief to the heart of God that I created this child and they've not done anything. Why, when we have minds? Utilize your mind. Do not let the devil use your mind for its purpose. Use it for the purpose of God and bring glory to His name. In Jesus' name, I have